untold story how Rwanda was divided, lost its land, faced genocide, and rose again. The beginning of Rwanda's tragedy, the Berlin Conference, 1884 to 1885. In the late 19th century, European powers were hungry for land and resources. They saw Africa as a rich continent waiting to be exploited. But instead of fighting over it, they decided to divide it peacefully, without involving a single African leader. This meeting, known as the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885, was led by German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck. European nations, including Germany, Belgium, Britain, and France, sat around a table and drew artificial borders on a map, claiming African territories as their own. This was the beginning of colonial rule, and it changed Africa forever. At that time, Rwanda was an independent kingdom ruled by a strong monarchy. Its influence extended far beyond its current borders, covering areas that are now part of Uganda, Tanzania, Burundi, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. But during the Berlin Conference, Germany took control of Rwanda, adding it to German East Africa along with Burundi and Tanzania. Britain took Uganda, absorbing parts of Rwanda's historical land. Belgium took Congo, including areas that were once ruled by the Rwandan kingdom. These foreign powers cut Rwanda into pieces, shrinking its land and scattering its people into different countries. This marked the beginning of a century of struggle, as Rwanda was no longer in control of its destiny. Colonial rule, how Belgium divided Rwandans, 16 to 1962. Germany ruled Rwanda until World War I, 1914-1918, after which Belgium took control. But instead of uniting Rwandans, the Belgians introduced policies that divided them based on ethnicity. Before colonization, the Hutu, Tutsi, and Twa were social classes, not ethnic groups. They spoke the same language, had the same culture, and lived together peacefully. But the Belgians created racial divisions and enforced them through ethnic identity cards. People were labeled as Hutu, Tutsi, or Twa. Favoritism toward the Tutsi. The Belgians saw the Tutsi as superior and gave them leadership positions. Oppression of the Hutu. The majority Hutu were treated as second-class citizens, denied education and leadership roles. This system created deep resentment among the Hutu population, leading to tensions that would later explode into violence. In 1959, a Hutu-led revolution erupted, forcing thousands of Tutsi to flee the country. By 1962, Rwanda gained independence from Belgium, but the seeds of hatred had already been planted. Post-independence and the road to genocide, 1962 to 1994. After independence, Rwanda became a Hutu-dominated republic and Tutsi were treated as outsiders. They were massacred in periodic killings, 1959, 1963, 1973, denied government jobs and education, forced to live as refugees in Uganda, Burundi, and Congo. Many of these refugees, including a young Paul Kagame, grew up in Uganda, facing hardship and discrimination. They dreamed of returning home, but Rwanda's government refused to allow Tutsi refugees back. By the late 1980s, a group of exiled Rwandans formed the Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF, led by Paul Kagame. Their goal, to fight for the right to return home. In 1990, the RPF launched a war against Rwanda's government, demanding justice. But instead of seeking peace, the government prepared for something far worse, a final solution to eliminate the Tutsi. The genocide against the Tutsi, April, July 1994. On April 6, 1994, a plane carrying Rwanda's Hutu president was shot down. Immediately, the government and Hutu extremists blamed the Tutsi and launched a 100-day killing spree. More than 1 million Tutsi were slaughtered in the most brutal ways imaginable. Neighbors killed neighbors. Women and children were not spared. The world watched, but did nothing. Meanwhile, Paul Kagame and the RPF fought back, advancing through the country to stop the killings. On July 4, 1994, the RPF captured Kigali, ending the genocide and taking control of the country. But Rwanda was now in ruins, millions dead, hundreds of thousands in exile, and a shattered economy. The challenge of rebuilding was enormous. How Rwanda rebuilt itself, 1994, present day. After the genocide, Rwanda's biggest challenge was not just rebuilding, but healing. Kagame's government focused on 1. Justice and reconciliation. Gacaca courts allowed communities to hold trials and seek the truth. The International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, ICTR, prosecuted genocide leaders. Ethnic labels were banned, promoting unity as one Rwanda. 2. Economic transformation. Kigali was rebuilt into one of Africa's cleanest and most developed cities. Rwanda became one of Africa's fastest-growing economies. The government invested in technology, tourism, and business, making Rwanda a model for progress. 3. Security and stability. Kagame built a strong and disciplined military to prevent any future genocide. Rwanda played a key role in peacekeeping missions across Africa. Genocide denial laws were introduced to prevent hate speech. 4. Education and women empowerment. Free primary and secondary education was introduced. Women were given leadership roles, making Rwanda the country with the highest percentage of women in parliament in the world. 5. Global influence. Rwanda became a leading voice in African development. Kagame pushed for self-reliance and African innovation, reducing dependency on foreign aid. Bold decision to rebuild itself with self-reliance, innovation, and unity. Under the leadership of President Paul Kagame, the government introduced key strategies that transformed Rwanda into one of Africa's fastest-growing and most admired nations. Verses 1. Agaciro Development Fund. The spirit of self-reliance. After years of foreign aid dependency, Rwanda wanted economic independence. In 2012, Kagame's government launched the Agaciro Development Fund, meaning Dignity Fund, encouraging Rwandans to contribute voluntarily to their own country's development. Citizens, businesses, and the Rwandan diaspora donated to help fund national projects. The fund reduced reliance on foreign aid, ensuring that Rwanda controlled its own future. It reinforced the Rwandan philosophy of Agaciro, dignity, a belief that true progress comes from within, not from foreign donors. This was a turning point in Rwanda's economic recovery, proving that a nation can rise through its own efforts. Vision 2020 and Vision 2050, the master plan for development. Shortly after the genocide, Rwanda's leadership created Vision 2020, a national strategy to transform Rwanda into a middle-income country by the year 2020. The plan focused on good governance and stability, economic growth and job creation, education and healthcare development, technology and innovation. By 2020, Rwanda had met most of its targets, leading to Vision 2050, an even more ambitious plan to become a high-income nation by mid-century. Hashtag 3, visit Rwanda, tourism as a game changer. To boost its economy, Rwanda invested heavily in tourism and branding. The government launched Visit Rwanda, an international campaign to promote Rwanda as a top travel destination. Partnerships with global sports teams like Arsenal FC, PSG, and Bayern Munich put Rwanda on the world stage. The campaign attracted millions of visitors, making tourism one of Rwanda's biggest industries. Rwanda became famous for mountain gorillas, luxury safaris, and clean, safe cities. Today, tourism is a major contributor to Rwanda's economy, proving that a small country can achieve global recognition. Made in Rwanda, growing local industries. Rwanda wanted to reduce imports and build local industries. In 2016, the government introduced the Made in Rwanda initiative to promote locally produced goods. Rwandans were encouraged to buy local products instead of foreign goods. The government invested in industries like textiles, agriculture, and manufacturing. Companies were given incentives to produce high-quality Rwandan products. This boosted the economy, created jobs, and strengthened national pride. Kigali, Africa's cleanest and smartest city. After 1994, Kigali was in ruins. Today it is known as Africa's cleanest and safest city. This transformation was possible due to strict policies. Monthly Umuganda, community service. Every last Saturday of the month, Rwandans clean their neighborhoods. Plastic ban. Rwanda became one of the first countries to ban plastic bags. Smart city initiatives. Kigali is now a tech hub, attracting investors and startups. These efforts have made Kigali one of Africa's top destinations for business and tourism. 6. Women empowerment, a new face of leadership. Rwanda leads the world in gender equality, with women holding over 60% of parliamentary seats, the highest in the world. The government empowered women in leadership, business, and education. Programs were introduced to support women entrepreneurs and reduce gender-based violence. Girls' education became a priority, ensuring that women play a key role in Rwanda's future. 7. ICT and innovation. The future of Rwanda. Rwanda is rapidly becoming Africa's Silicon Valley. The government invested heavily in technology, attracting global tech companies and startups. Kigali Innovation City was launched to support tech companies and entrepreneurs. Smart classrooms and digital learning were introduced in schools. The country aims to become a cashless economy with mobile banking and digital payments. Peace and security. A stable Rwanda. Security and stability have been a top priority for Rwanda. The government focused on a strong military and police force to prevent any future conflict. Peacekeeping missions in Africa, making Rwanda one of the continent's most trusted peacekeepers. Strict anti-corruption laws, making Rwanda one of Africa's least corrupt countries. These efforts ensured that Rwanda remains one of the safest places in Africa.